lecture. It has been a wonderful journey of learning, reflection, and collaboration over the past days. As we step into our last day, let us continue with the same curiosity and energy. Today, we are honored to welcome Dr. Sunny Kumar, Senior Scientist in Dr. Teresa Gomez Islam Laboratory at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School, USA. His research focuses on brain resilience in Alzheimer's disease. Why some people remain cognitively healthy despite having significant disease pathology, aiming to identify protective mechanisms for future therapies. Dr. Kumar earned his PhD in neurobiology from University Laval, Canada, where he studied frontotemporal dementia and ALS. And he previously trained at Jivaji University and the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He has extensive expertise in human brain anatomy, advanced microscopy, and molecular biology, and has published in leading neuroscience journals. His work bridges basic neuroscience and translational research, helping us understand why neurodegenerative diseases affect people differently. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of this FDP. This insight session will be followed by daily feedback form and validatory program, and we request everyone to stay with us till the end. Now, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for such a great introduction. And briefly, I'm Sunny Kumar, and currently I'm working at Harvard Medical School and Mass General Hospital, and I study basic pathomechanisms of Alzheimer's disease using human postmortem brain tissue.
Awesome.
So, today our discussion is not about science; it's more about ethics. And I would like to just share my screen so that we can get started. So, let
और
me.
कपिल सर हाँ प्रीतम सर के पास सही चल रहा है ना
Are you guys able to see my screen?
यस सर
All right. So, so what today I'm going to be discussing, it's more about how my journey started from Jivaji University and now I came to Harvard Medical School, and I've been very fortunate to work across with
ऑनलाइन ज्वाइन कर लेना
very
मोबाइल के स्पीकर बंद कर लेना
amazing scientists. And along my way of being about ethics and
यार ये
you
अजीब
know
चीज ना
like
पे
how to represent science, because
सही
honestly like any other
कंफ्यूज करने के बाद ही तो बोला
profession, scientific values are mostly linked to the
तंबोली भी
what
नहीं
to
आ रहा
say honesty and transparency. So this is a very important part,
अब अपना
and I'm
मोबाइल का
grateful
जो
that
स्पीकर
I
है वो
have been
म्यूट कर
invited in this series where we are discussing the research and publication ethics, and there could not be a better way to start the new year. So
बस
today I'm gonna be presenting what is redundant publications and what are the different types of redundant publications. And let's jump into the topic. To begin with, I have nothing to disclose. And today I will be briefly giving you idea about what is the significance of publications and why do we do that. And then I will briefly introduce what is redundant publications and different types of redundant publications. It is more complex than it
हमारे साथ
appears, where it just looks like it is about redundant publications, but we will go through it with several examples. And then we will discuss why this happens and what are the consequences one can face
यूट्यूब
after
में
they
चेक करो
have
सर आवाज आ रही है क्या
been found to be utilizing the strategy of redundant publication, and how they detect these kind of things and what are the best practices that we can use to basically prevent
Look,
such
I know.
kind of misleading habits. And then we will open the board for discussions and question and answer. So,
करने पहले लोग यहाँ
what
आ जाएं
is
इसलिए फिर वो क्या
why
करते
is
हैं
it
यूट्यूब में चले जाते हैं ध्यान नहीं
essential
देते हैं
for
इसलिए
publications, or why publications are essential for
हम्म
academia? So, like,
जो जो
to
लोग नहीं उन्होंने ऊपर
measure
लगा
the
दिया
success in every domain, we have to have certain level of
इसलिए
metrics
इनका जीएसएम नहीं है मैं
in order to understand how you are
नहीं
progressing or how
सर्टिफिकेट
you are utilizing the taxpayers'
मतलब
money.
बड़े
And as we know in science, we heavily rely on government funding. So it is always important to show your productivity, and that's where the publications comes into the picture. And now, as we know that as competition has been growing lately, more and more growing evidences are suggesting that not everyone who pursues a PhD or doctorate are able to uh, transform into assistant professor or secure a place in university setups, because
है किस लिए हो
we have more supply than demand, and over the year the bars have been going up and up. So that's why it is important to publish and show that what you have been using like in the past as the resources at the end, how you are advancing science. The best way to do is to publish high impact journals or publish novelty in the science continuously.
सर्टिफिकेट
However, nowadays in academia, the pressure of
वैसे हो जाता है
publications
सर्टिफिकेट
has
उनको
really
खिंचवा
advanced.
लेंगे फिर उनको पेन ड्राइव
And
आप लोग कल
it has gone up to a point that some of the universities, they want you to publish every year one paper at least. And this is causing like a lot of pressures on scientists, because publication is just one aspect of studying in being in academia. Like you have to take teaching classes, you have to also write continuously grants, and only 5 to 7% of the grants are successful. So it adds up additional peer pressure on the scientists. So when such kind of pressure generates, there are some consequences of that, and that basically leads to scientific integrity. Also, it affects the reliability of the literature. But more importantly, it destroys the reputations of the scientists, because when you are consistently doing this, it is you're gonna be caught, because peer reviewers are consistently reading different papers coming out of different journals. So once it comes, it can harm your reputation. So one should be careful about it. So what is redundant publication? So they are often also known as duplicate or self-plagiarism. So basically, like, there are scenarios where you can use the exact same uh, data set and represent in multiple different ways and put it in different articles. However, the outcomes of the results are pretty much the same. Or because it is also possible that we consistently write our publications and we use big chunks of text from one publication and put it in a new publication without giving any references or anything. So this kind of habits can be very difficult to identify. However, they are considered into a redundant publications form. And this is something that whenever you are trying to publish a new publications, it's always important to be careful so that you are not using the self-plagiarism methods, because it is very hard. It is hard sometimes because we have only one niche in science, and on top of that, we write multiple papers based on the same sciences. So there can be overlap, and when we write it in the similar way, there can be a lot of similarities. So we just want to avoid those kind of similarity, and one should be just careful about it that they are not, using the same text in multiple journals. So it needs a little bit of transparency also, because if you are cross-referencing your previous publications or your other publications where you have used the same sort of languages, then it is easy for reviewers to understand that you have already cross-referenced and you are being transparent about it. But if you are not cross-referencing them or providing any justification, that could be mislead the reviewers, and they can think that you are basically presenting a brand new information, which might not be true. And it does not mean that you are completely taking the information from one paper and putting it in another paper. It can be slightly modified material. You can utilize like slightly modified material that you can probably take the same data and you can plot it differently, or you can add a few more groups. So we will go through it one by one and we will discuss like what all these things are. But at the end, like when you look at all these kind of habits where the redundant publications comes into picture, it basically undermines the trust in scientific literature. And also like it wastes a lot of resources, because when you look into the scientific publication, it's like it has to go through like uh, editorial board, then it has to go to the scientific community for review. And sometimes there are review not only once, like twice or third time. So it's a lot of time that the editorial office and the reviewers are putting. But when they realize that you have already published this literature somewhere or submitted this literature somewhere, it is really like sad, because it utilizes a lot of resources. So when you look into the, uh, so you guys are still following?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me whenever you want. So when you look into the types of redundant publications, there are multiple different types. So we'll start with the duplicate publication. So basically, like you take the exact same manuscript and you simultaneously put it in multiple journals without citing each other, because generally when we reference articles, they are published, and but when you are simultaneously submitting it to different journals, and if you are not writing it in your cover letter that you are sending it to the editorial board, then it can mislead them, suggesting that what you are submitting in their offices is basically an original research, however, which is not true, because you are submitting the exact same manuscript to the multiple places. So that falls under the category of duplicate publications. Then there is salami slicing, where basically you use, let's say, like you wrote a big grant and you got really, uh, you got that grant, and then you have a single hypothesis, and then you decided that, oh, we want to be more productive every year, and you were just submitting a part of it every year rather than giving the bigger pictures of this uh, science that you have generated. So this is basically like inflating your publication count, and it mostly leads to like, you know, some of academic successes, but in the field itself, it is not seen as a good thing. So we will go through some examples of those two with each other. And then you have like overlapping publications. So basically, you take a part of information from your previously published article, and then you mix it with some new information in terms of graph. It could be in terms of text. However, the message of the paper remains the same, but you basically like transformed it a little bit different from the previous one, but still there is an significant overlap. So that is also considered unethical. There is certain level of overlap which is expected, but if you have to give like really good citations or disclosure. And then there is simultaneous submissions, which are not accepted in the scientific field, and you should not put the same articles into two different you cannot put the same article into two different journals without disclosing it to the editors. So it is very important to continuously check the guidelines on the page of the articles, that what are their necessity and what are their scopes. So we'll go through an example of duplicate publications, and this is strictly prohibited in many of the journal guidelines. And before submitting an article, you should always follow those guidelines and see all the informations they are provided for the authors. So basically, let's say like if uh, uh, in a clinical trial they have studied that the gene X is involved in a disease, and they have found like slightly different or probably the similar results. Like for example, gene X causes inflammation in X disease, and here also they have found in journal B that the gene X causes inflammation in X disease, but they have found like slightly different genes, or like let's say like gene ontology name, and they have submitted the same article with the same cohort into two different journals. This is unacceptable, and people should not do it, because at the end, like if you are trying to highlight that the gene X is involved in the inflammation, that's like the basic message where you have followed a hypothesis. However, you are misrepresenting the data by slightly changing it, and this falls under the category of duplicate publication, and one should be careful while doing this. Why is it problematic? Because it is nothing much than just enhancing your numbers of publication, or just to show that you have been productive. But in terms of like long run, this is not good practice, because you are using all the resources of journal A and journal B, and it is basically like showing the same information. So it's complete waste of editors and reviewers' time. And very often when journals finds that you have published the same result in two different journals, which happens because with the modern era of science, like PubMed search and Google search and that we have, it is not that hard to have like access to all the journals. So it leads to retraction, or it can seriously damage the reputation of the of the authors. So one should be very careful before making any duplicate publication. Then the other comes salami slicing. It is slightly different than the other. So I will give you an example. Let's say like you decided or you got a grant on studying the everything about disease X, and you want to develop a novel biomarker for disease X. So let's say like you decided that, oh, I want to follow biomarker A, biomarker B, and biomarker C. And at the end, you've decided that I want to pursue biomarker A in a different journal, biomarker B in a different journal, and biomarker C in a different journal. Now, what's the problem over here? That if you would have put them together, then we would have not only known the impact of biomarker A, B, or C,
लोगों को ऐड करते जाओ उसमें।
but we would have also known that which biomarker out of these three are important, because all those biomarkers might not be relevant, but when you are separating them individually, it might be possible that they all would appear to be relevant. So you are basically like, just for enhancing the number of publication, one is one is publishing misleading sciences, which is not a good practice, because it might be in the long term when you look biomarker A, B, or C, all the three can be going up in a disease scenario. But let's say like biomarker A is going higher than biomarker B or C. If you would have put them together, then one could have understood them very well. But because it is chopped into three different papers, one could not understand, and this could lead to, like problems. So why people do it again? To increase the number of publications, because with the peer pressure that now is there in academia, you need to be productive every year, and also like n- number of publications are important for promotions or funding prospects, and you know. to
और क्या
create
लेना
like
था
a
कौन
constant
सा
sense of productivity.
कर दिया
What can be the risk? It can weaken the scientific messages, as I have explained in the by giving an example, and it would make it harder for readers to see the full picture because you are chopping the complete information multiple small fragments. Also, it could reduce the access because they might not understand that you are using the same cohort for three different biomarkers and they have to invest triple the time because you are probably using the same method, but because every individual paper can be different, they will have to spend like a lot of time understanding the same message. And at the end, it can mislead systemic review process. So at the end, it's considered a form of redundant publication. So now we'll move to the another form of publication, which is called overlapping publication. So this is more complex than others, and it can happen to many of us because it falls under the category of self-plagiarism. So sometimes we have all like very unique style of writing, and also like we follow one question longitudinally for an extensive period of time. So it can happen that we write in a way that it is continuously appearing in our paper. So that's why every time you write a paper, it is important to, follow guidelines and see what is acceptable or what is not. So for example, here you can see that in paper one, this sentence that appears highlighted over here has been used in second paper multiple times without giving any references or citations to the previous paper. This could mislead the scientist or this could mislead the information. So this is uh, not acceptable in the science. Also, as you can see here in the data, like using the same cohort, a previous paper has published this data, but now the researchers have decided that they're going to add a few more other groups, which is highlighted here in yellow, and use the previous data set from the previously published paper. This is also unacceptable because it gives us a sense of that you are using a new information. So for such kind of things, you have to use certain citation methods. So basically, if you're using tables or you are doing self-plagiarism or you are using figures from previously published paper or you are publishing overlapping data set with slightly different angles, this all can be unacceptable in the publication situation. Some levels of this is acceptable, like if you reusing a method because let's say like your lab has developed a method and you are utilizing the same method and asking different question with it, that is acceptable as long as you are citing the original paper where you have shown that this method was new. Because in every paper, if you were showing that this method is new and original, it is misleading the authors, and which would lead to giving you more credit than actually is important. And or you can also like write like a sentence where you can show that some data or content has been published before and give a citation to that paper. This is pretty acceptable. What is unacceptable is that if you're using a large portion of text and using it without giving any disclosure or citation, and you are basically presenting a complete overlapping word entirely new as or original. So very often, like when you submit a paper and it goes to the reviewer very often looks into your profile to see if you have the similar kind of paper or not. So it is always good to know that they're gonna use that practices and they're gonna figure it out. But when you are trying to publish an overlapping publication, they might ban you from resubmitting your articles into the journal. So again, like we'll go with the why it happens. So as we have already discussed that it is a consistent pressure that has been generating in academia, that is where we are facing a situation of publishing or perishing. So this basically leads researchers to put as much as paper, and they are trying to like publish, show the productivity by publishing one paper every year, and that is very common case with salami slicing. And sometimes it is also desired to increase the publication count to enhance your CV, because we are consistently writing grants, and it is important to show that what hypothesis you are working on is solid, and also like because you previously have done those research and those researches has been published through the peer review process. It kind of gives sense of uh, certainty to the reviewers of the grant, and they basically feel more confident in your hypothesis. So that's why like it is important. However, like when you are using like any of these duplicate publication approaches, like one day it's gonna come out and they're gonna understand that what strategy you are using. So it is always important to publish like complete science, like choose a topic, have your hypothesis, and go and publish that entire hypothesis. And for the new funding opportunities or for the new publication, design a new hypothesis all along. The competition in the universities, like high impact articles, are really important, or like how you are following up throughout your research is also important. But for other universities, might not be the case, and they rely heavily on the publication count or yearly production rather than seeing the complete picture. So this is also important to consideration that if you are in such kind of university, you and you are relying on the numbers of papers, then you should have multiple hypotheses at the same time. And this also causes some people also have misunderstanding or lack of awareness of publication ethics. That is also very commonly seen in young researchers, including postdocs, PhD students, or early faculties. So it is also important to register yourself to the courses. There are multiple courses worldwide online nowadays, so you can register yourself to understand more about it. Then there is cultural or institutional expectations. Some expectations, they don't care much about quality of the papers. They heavily rely on quantity, as I expected, as I explained. So that could be another problem, that if you are in such sort of institution, you have to know how to handle this well. Otherwise, it could lead to, you know, like bad reputation of your sciences. So what can be the consequences of that? So basically, this can distort the scientific record and bias the meta-analysis data. Basically, like you are flooding the similar information in multiple papers count. So basically, it's going to show that, oh, this based on the number, it looks like it is highly reliable, but you're using the same data to basically hype the hype the information in there. It can also it wastes like a lot of time and resources of editors, reviewers, and readers, because it's like if you see it, you wrote three different papers using the same cohort and you're describing the similar method in three different papers. So people are going to spend like three times more energy and resources to understand the similar thing that could have been in one paper.
सामने सही नहीं रहेगा ना.
Very often these practices are not accepted by the reviewers or the editors. So this may lead to manuscript rejections, also retraction, or you can face a lifetime ban from journals. So it is always important to not ruin your reputation and be careful while you are publishing the paper. So all these informations you can find it like on the websites of different journals, and they clearly describe what is acceptable or what is not. And if you have any further questions, you can reach to the editor. You can write a letter to the editor, and they are very polite, and they always most frequently answers the question. It can also damage your credibility and professional reputation, because retraction has not been, or being banned from from a journal is not seen well in the field, and those kind of retractions can cause your harm to your reputation, and at the end you won't be succeeding in getting any more grants. And it can also trigger institutional investigations and disciplinary actions. So you might be, one can also lose their job as these practices are not encouraged by the institutes. So what, before, when you prepare an article for publication and you are in the process, it is always recommended to go on journal and publisher policies pages, and they have like a very descriptive information for authors in there. And there they describe all the necessary things, including the scope of the research that they are interested in. And when you go through it, you realize that where your research fits. It might not be suitable for one journal, but it might be suitable for another journal. So it is always important, before preparing your article, you should go to these journal and publishers policy pages. But majority of the journals, they want original unpublished work. In my experience, I don't think like there is any journal which wants to publish what is already published out there. No simultaneous submission are accepted in journals, because if you are submitting the same articles to two different places at the same time, it is not a good practice in science, because science, like, truth and belief is very important aspects of science. So you should always be mindful, even though you are publishing two different, slightly different concept into two different journals, you should declare it while you're writing it to the editor in your cover letter. And this same goes to grants too. Sometimes, like, or very frequently, we write the similar grant to different funding agencies because the rate of success is so low. We don't know where we're gonna get funded or not. But once you are funded for the same project by two or three different institutions, it is always important to go back and let them know that you have also been funded for the same project by different institutions, and make them decide whether that's acceptable or not, or give you idea that what are the importance of that. This kind of unethical practices often leads to rejection or retractions of the paper. And when those activities happens, generally a notifications goes on to the author's institution. So you would see like Papier is the place like nowadays people are using a lot. Like when they go through a paper and they have any question, they put those questions in there, or they, if they see like any scientific misconduct in there, and then they ask the justifications to the authors that why this kind of things has happened. If you have proper justification, you can give it there. If not, then in most of the cases, like in many of the cases, they basically inform your institution and they inform the lead authors for further explanations, and the journals too. And if you fail to comply with those processes, then it could lead to rejection and reputation harm. So it is always important to be very careful about these. And this can lead to temporary or permanent submission bans from grants or from journals. So it is very easy, like everything is written there on the journal and publisher policies to avoid these kind of misconducts. So how they are detected, there are editorial boards, and in the editor's office there are people who are consistently in this process of initial screening, which takes like up to 7 to 10 days in many of the editorial offices. And they read your paper, because they consistently read other papers too, so they have more knowledge of that. They also use plagiarism detection software. They uh, look for like the details of the authors in order to verify that you have this piece of work is original and it is not coming from something that you have previously published. And very often, like, people also got post publication alert from reader or other researchers. So there are multiple ways of detecting these kinds of redundancies nowadays. And with the technologies advancing, AI tools advancing, this is becoming easier and easier for them to detect these kind of redundancies policies. So how to avoid, and what are the best practices for the author. So the first thing first is that be transparent. In science, what I've learned so far working through many different institutions is that as transparent you are very safe because you have to disclose if you had any related papers or if you have put your paper in the preprints or if you had any conference abstract in a cover letter that you are writing to the editors, and that gives them a fair chance to know that whether this study is novel enough or not to basically go further. So very often, like in clinical trials, it happens like people use like a very small cohort and test the drug effect, let's say like drug A, and they found good results and they go and publish. But then in the follow-up, they use a large cohort and they want to test what they have seen in the first study. Has it been replicated in the large cohort or not? So for those, if they have replicated it or not and they want to publish it, they always have to cite the previous paper and disclose it in the cover letter to the editors that this study is a follow-up study and it might not be the original because original information has been published somewhere, and now giving them like a fair chance to decide whether they want to continue with this or not. Again, like if you are clearly citing the paper, if you are using like methodology that you have previously published, don't show it like it's a new method because it has already been published somewhere. So you are using those reusing those materials. So basically, cite them properly. You have to know the rules. So that's why you always have to go on journals authorship pages, or there are guidelines provided by different places where you can know. You have to plan your publication carefully, and that means that before even you start a big study, you should know like how many publications you are expecting out of this big study, and make sure that your hypothesis is not sliced in all those different papers. Make sure that your hypothesis remains original for every paper that is coming out of those studies. And try to like be like we all try to like give a complete picture rather than giving like tiny information in multiple papers. We would try like to have like a coherent and complete information in one paper. This saves people's times and effort. This also advances sciences so that it might not be you can think for the next step. Somebody, other researchers in different institutions also might read your paper and come across the idea that what should be done next because you have given such a coherent and beautiful story. They are able to build their own hypothesis because at the end, it's not just about enhancing your own career, but it's about advancing the sciences itself. So it does not necessarily have to come from one place. And that's why like collaborations are also important part of such study. Always document your work, write it well, how the experiments were performed, give like descriptive information in the papers, also keep the records of submission, revision, and when the final publication comes out so that you're sure that you didn't make that mistake. This is coming from office or somewhere else, so that you are sure that what step those mistakes has happened. Track which data or figures has been used in which papers. So very frequently, like if you go in the pub here, like you would realize that by mistake, like the same authors, let's say like a PhD student was working in a PhD project and that led into two or three papers. And by mistake, like they have one figure published in two different papers and it got caught by some readers around. So this is not seen as a good thing. It just suggests that you have to like use like
थैंक यू हो गया मैडम थैंक यू एक मिनट इसका पिक्चर लेना है वो ऑफिस का पिक्चर ले लो जो आ रहा है अभी इस समय उन्होंने सब शो कर रखा है वहाँ पे अरे वो ऑनलाइन का पिक्चर लो ना ये तुमने ले नहीं पाया चलो ये लास्ट
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir,
ठीक
for
है
sharing such valuable knowledge and perspectives. Your session has truly broadened our understanding. Your inputs will definitely guide our future work. Now, if anyone have any query, you may ask.
चैट बॉक्स में देखो कोई है क्या चैट बॉक्स में क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं ना कैन यू प्लीज रिपीट सलामी स्लाइसिंग
Sir, there is a query. Can you please repeat salami slicing? Any other query? I think no more queries are there. We end here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, as we come to the conclusion of this International Faculty Development Program, it is pleasure to briefly reflect on the rich learning we have experienced over these 6 days. On day one, Dr. Vignesh Ramamurthy guided us through the principle of research ethics. He reminded us that responsible research is built on honesty, respect, and accountability, values that safeguard both science and society. On day two, Professor Anshuman Srivastava discussed scientific misconduct, falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism. He clearly explained how we must differentiate between information we find and our own ideas. He emphasized proper acknowledgement of the original sources, accurate citation, and referencing, awareness of conduct cheating, and the importance of using genuine, truthful data. On day three, Professor Puneet Kumar enlightened us about predatory publishing and peer review ethics. He helped us understand predatory journals, profit-driven publication models, legitimate peer-reviewed systems, and publication ethics. He stressed the need to protect the future of Indian research through responsible and ethical publishing practices. On day four, Professor Hussain Ali Ahmed spoke on intellectual honesty and research integrity. He highlighted the moral principles that promote trust and credibility in research, discussed ethical lapses that can cause serious harm, and emphasized honesty, objectivity, carefulness, and openness.
इन सर ने अपने
Along
उसमें
with the three
पीपीटी में लास्ट में लगाया
fundamental
सर
of
थैंक यू
integrity,
सारा आ गया
responsibility,
इसमें
and
इसका
humility.
स्क्रीनशॉट ही है
On day 5, Dr. K. Evaria
वीडियो में
focused
भी आया
on
होगा
publication ethics,
उससे निकाल लेंगे
reinforcing the need for transparency, fairness, and accountability at every stage of scholarly communication. Sir beautifully guided us through the 5 P's of the ethical management: purpose,
ये
pride,
ग्रांट रिलीज है
patience, persistence, and perspective. While reminding us of the golden rule and thoughtfully connecting these ideas with the three major ethical needs: consequentialism, deontological, and virtue ethics, enriching our understanding of responsible research practices.
नहीं तो
On day 6, that is the final day, Dr. Sunny Kumar discussed redundant, duplicate, and overlapping publications,
नेट हो गया
helping
इसमें
us understand how much practices damage
नेट
scientific
ये
credibility
जो है
and
बात
how
होगा
they
इसमें
must be avoided.
हो ही
Together,
पाएगा बच्चे
these sessions have deepened our understanding of ethical research practices and reminded us that quality research is not only about the result, it is about value. As we conclude, let's carry forward these lessons into our classrooms, laboratories, and publications. Let us commit to honesty, originality, and responsibility and inspire our
निकल जाने दो अभी तो है
students
उसमें
and colleagues to do the same. As we are also coming
फोटो
to
ले
the
रखी है
end of this year, let this moment be one
यहाँ
of
से
the renewable and hope. May the coming new year bring new opportunities for learning,
वीडियो ऑन
meaningful
करना ना इनकी भी
collaboration,
फोटो वीडियो ऑन
and
करना
greater
इनकी भी फोटो आ जाएगी
achievements
ना
in
वीडियो ऑन
our
करो आप
academic journey. On behalf of organizing committee, I extend sincere thanks to all our eminent speakers, enthusiastic
ये
participants,
यहाँ से आ जाएगा
sponsors,
आप इस पर
and the
क्लिक करोगे
dedicated
ऑटोमेटिकली ले
team
लेगा
who made this
पूरा स्क्रीन
FDP a success. Thank you and wishing everyone continued growth and meaningful contribution to the world of research. And wishing each one of a peaceful end of the year and a very happy new year. Now,
ओके
we would like to invite the feedback and reflection from the
अभी कहाँ हो
participants.
गया
If anyone wants to share their
अब
thoughts
आएगा
or
वही
experience, you are most welcome. So, dear participants, if you want to share your experience and thoughts, you can.
यस इधर से आएगा सर पूरा स्क्रीन का स्क्रीनशॉट
ये
ये
Thank you, sir.
ये भी हटा दूंगा
Anyone else? Please, you are welcome.
ये वीडियो बन रहा है क्या रिकॉर्डिंग स्टार्ट हो
Okay.
गया स्टार्ट
So now, please stay with us as we are moving towards our valedictory session. So we are delighted to welcome our respected chief guest, Mr. Navneet Agarwal, and we thank for gracing this program with your presence, sir. I request you to come on the dais here. for valedictory session. I also request Dr. Pritam Singh and Dr. Kumar to kindly join us on the dais. And I feel honored to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Navneet Agrawal, who serves as Regional Director, World Trade Center, Jaipur. As a member of World Trade Center Association in New York, WTC Jaipur serves as a gateway to the global opportunities, facilitating strategic alliances and connections. WTC Jaipur offers local businesses the opportunity to join the world's largest private business network, gaining visibility across more than 320 WTCs in over 90 cities worldwide. Established to leverage the region's economic strength, WTC Jaipur aims to support Rajasthan's thriving tourism sector and its local business community. The region is competitively positioned in agriculture, textile, gems and jewelry, and traditional industries such as marble and granite, copper and zinc. Rajasthan is also globally renowned for its artisan skills from jewelry making to construction materials. Thank you, sir, for joining us and accepting our invitation as a chief guest. Now, I humbly invite Dr. Preetham Singh and Dr. Kapil Pal to kindly felicitate our esteemed chief guest.
सर्टिफिकेट सर्टिफिकेट हाँ सर कैसे आओगे अब वही तो बात पीछे नहीं सर थोड़ा सा जब तक ज़्यादा पीछे
नाम अनाउंस कर देंगे कि यू वेट फॉर अ मिनट।
हाँ
उसको बोल देते हैं वो हटा देगा।
मैडम बोल थोड़ा 2 मिनट रुकिए हटाने की
या फिर जो फोटो ले रहे हैं उनसे पूछते हैं कि सही लग रहा है।
ऐसा सही लग रहा है ये हटा देंगे सेटअप सही आज
तो स्क्रीन पे दिखाना है क्या?
नहीं
लैपटॉप पे तो ना उसका वैसे कर देते हैं आप देखो।
वो तो दिख रहा है वो तो वैसे भी स्क्रीन पे दिखेगा इसमें
पास से तो देखो।
यहाँ देखो ना यूट्यूब पे आएगा ना वो चीज़ ये देखो आ रहा है सर यूट्यूब पे आ रहा है ये देखो यूट्यूब पे तो आ रहा है ना सर
हाँ ठीक है।
लाओ दो आ जाए सर थैंक यू सर थैंक यू वेरी मच सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ एप्रिसिएशन
थैंक यू।
Now, I humbly request our honored chief guest to kindly come forward and share thoughts and words of wisdom with us.
Good evening, everyone. Namaskar. First of all, I would like to congratulate Scientific and Humanities Research Society, Jaipur, Rajasthan, for organizing such a wonderful FDP. It was truly enlightening And I believe all the stakeholders we got benefited, and we request them to come forward and organize many more programs like this. It supports us in enriching our learnings, and it's a wonderful platform to share our experiences. Also, a fourth dimensions group from Madhya Pradesh, India, they supported us tremendously. International Journal of Innovative Research and Growth, IIJRG, India. We all partnered together and it was a wonderful experience. We look forward to collaborating with Scientific and Humanities Research Society, Jaipur, Rajasthan on many more occasions. We thank our honorable resource personnel who took some time out and enlightened all of us with their vast industry and academic knowledge. And we wish a very wonderful vacation, a very festive season to all esteemed delegates from all around the world. Thank you very much and thank you for the opportunity. Wishing you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. There is a message here from Dr. Anju Beniwal. She is sharing that this program was well organized, interactive, and beneficial for the improving research integrity and publication
ये
practice.
हटवाएंगे सर थोड़ा सा.
The use of Google Meet was smooth and the schedule was followed efficiently. Overall, the FDP was enhanced. My awareness of the ethical research practices and will be extremely useful in my academic and research work. I sincerely appreciate the efforts of organizers and speakers for conducting such a valuable program. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts here. Now, as we proceed with the certificate distribution, we congratulate all the recipients and thank them for their participation. I request the dignitaries to kindly join us for the certificate distribution.
सर को बुला लो. नो, सर को बुला लो सर्टिफिकेट के लिए. ये हटाना है क्या? हाँ, ये हटाना पड़ेगा तभी अच्छा लगेगा. हाँ, नवनीत सर को. बोल दो उसको. ये तो लगा रहने दो. उसमें अनाउंस कर दो मैडम. जस्ट वेट फॉर अ वाइल. ऐसे करके.
Please wait for a while.
ये नहीं है इनका. सर हेमंत सर होंगे ना. एक और निकाल लो एक्स्ट्रा सर के लिए.
Yes, feedback will be shared soon.
ऊपर ही ऊपर रखे ना. हेमंत शर्मा करके नाम है.
ये इधर चेयर
उठा दो. हाँ, ये उठा लो. ऐसे उठा लो.
उठा ले.
मोबाइल रखा रहने.
ओके. इसे ऐसे लंबी कर.
वो उधर एक और निकाल लो एक्स्ट्रा. सर को दिखा के फोटो खींच लेंगे. व्हाट्सएप चेक करो व्हाट्सएप व्हाट्सएप में भेजा हमने चेक
यहाँ फोन yes yes कोई बात नहीं no worry.
ऑनलाइन मीटिंग को आ रही है ऑनलाइन एक एक्स्ट्रा ले लो कोई भी ले लो
Now I invite dignitaries to kindly join us for the certificate distribution. And now I invite the participants one by one.
कब सर
Firstly, Dr. Tarun Patodia.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Now, Dr. Arun Kumar Singh.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Now, Dr. Hemant Kumar Sharma.
Yes.
राइट नंबर बोलो
Congratulations.
Next,
थैंक यू सर
Mr. Ashish Kumar Meena.
Congratulations.
Thank you all participants for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have a very special announcement to make this evening. It gives us immense pleasure to unveil and launch the book titled Computer Knowledge, the World of Hardware and Technology, authored by Engineer Vishnu Divakar, co-authored by Dr. Pritam Singh and Sohan Singh.
ऐसे फोटो लेंगे that is the inauguration of the book.
Let's congratulate the author and the entire team behind this wonderful contribution. Many, many congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. So one, sir.
ये हमारा नाम सोहन का नहीं है
Oh, yeah, I heard. Very nice. Awesome. Very nice. अच्छा awesome.
बुक दे ना ये क्या देंगे दुकान अरे बुक देना आपके कवर पे टच किया कवर पेज आयुर्वेद नंबर है इसके यहाँ इधर गया प्राइस 00 का रखिए आपने और
Congratulations again.
Congratulations.
With gratitude in our hearts, now I invite Dr. Shiva Soni to offer the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizers.
ये जो जेट ये हमारा
A very good evening to all of you. On the behalf of organizers, it gives me immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks for the International Faculty Development Program on Research and Publication Ethics, organized by the Scientific and Humanities Research Society in association with a Fourth Dimension Group, Madhya Pradesh, and the International Journal of Innovative Research and Growth, with the valued support of WTC Jaipur, Rajasthan, held from 22nd to 27th December 2025. We express our sincere gratitude to our distinguished resource person, Dr. Vignesh Ramamurthy, Professor Arjun Srivastava, Amit Kumar, Professor Dr. Mukesh Javaria, and Dr. Sunny Kumar for sharing their rich knowledge, insights, and experiences, which greatly enriched the deliberations of this program. We extend our sincere thanks to Mr. Namit Agarwal, WTC Jaipur, for his valuable support and encouragement, which greatly contributed to the successful organization of the International Faculty Development Program on Research and Publication Ethics. We are thankful to the organizing committee, coordinating teams, and all supporting partners for their meticulous planning and tireless efforts in making this FDP a grand success. Our heartfelt thanks also go to all the participants for their active involvement, thoughtful interaction, and enthusiasm throughout the program. Finally, we extend our appreciation to everyone who contributed directly or indirectly to the successful completion of this academic endeavor. With these words, I once again thank all and look forward to continued academic collaboration in the future. As we conclude, we extend our warm wishes to everyone for a happy, healthy, and successful new year ahead. Thank you all. Thank you for being part of it. Now I request our chief guest, Mr. Namit Agrawal. To distribute the certificate to the organizing committee members.
सर बराबर दिख रहा है
आ रहे हैं आगे बराबर है
First of all, I invite Dr. Pritam Singh God. Congratulations, sir, for receiving the certificate.
All right.
Now, I request Dr. Kapil Datta. Congratulations. Now I request Dr. Shiva Suni. And now myself, Dr. Vatsala Kumar. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And here we conclude our FDP, and we hope we